Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video with Dulcie. This is her at Pennsylvania at Fargo Creek. I wanted to show you guys. This was actually her first time staying in stalls, which was pretty cool. And I'll show you guys some of the obstacles that she was working on. I did some stuff in hand, and then you can probably see the surcingle that's on her. I'll show you guys a little bit of her long lining, which is prepping her for being a riding horse, because when we get back home to Canada after this whole trip is over, the plan is to get her started under saddle and see what she's well suited to. And so far she's doing really awesome. I guide her up to the obstacles and she's pretty willing to try everything. And that's even with the little splash box there. She's like, okay, just get my cookie. Very easy going with all of that stuff in hand, just very willing to go forward, very trusting of me, which is super awesome to get to this point in a relationship with a horse that they're just willing to kind of give it a go at anything. But you'll see when we switch to long lining, she does lose some of her confidence, which is pretty typical because here she's kind of getting to follow me a little bit. We've practiced a lot of in-hand stuff. And then when she has to go by herself, it's definitely a little bit more scary than when you get to be beside the human. But here's speeding up a little bit of the footage here. And this is the first time asking her to go in the water. And you can see I bring her around. I kind of keep her nose straight. And in the whole scheme of things, it really doesn't take that long before she's willing to kind of inch her way into that water. And she's so cute when she finally goes in the water. She seems like she really enjoys it. Now, training for the different competitions and obstacle competitions, I don't let them stop and play too much in the water because I don't want them to think about laying down when they get into the water. So I don't be mean or anything. I just try to keep them moving forward. She does grab a little snack on her way out, which is okay. That's just her getting a little bit of positive reinforcement in there. But again, that will be something that I'll want to kind of keep her feet moving and make sure that that doesn't become a habit. The biggest thing is just making sure that my body language projects what it is that she's supposed to do, whether she's supposed to go forward or not go forward, that she understands where she's headed. Now here is a suspension bridge, which is a pretty scary obstacle. It's quite tall off the ground and it moves and it wiggles, and you can see it startles her at first, so she goes off of the side. I ended up speeding up the footage just so you could see this without taking too long, and you can see she kind of goes off the side a bunch of different times, and I just kind of keep resetting her, stay straight until we get to this point here where she's going to walk all the way across the bridge. And I am trying my best to keep her nose at the center, but it's really nice when they're discovering something new. You know, nobody gets in trouble, nobody gets yelled at. It's just, hey, there's no cookie and let's redo. And she gets her cookie for completely crossing the bridge, and then I'll turn her around and we'll go the other way over the bridge. And she's like, are you sure about this? And you can see when she looks at it, I give her her head. She gets to sniff, explore the bridge. And then once she tries, I'm just using the rope to keep her straight and guide her nose straight where she's headed. And you can see she walks across really nicely there. It's such a cool obstacle. It's got such a great wiggle to it. And I love how they use the black rubber. It's kind of like grippy little rubber. I'm not even sure what it is really, but it's kind of like little circles and holes in it. So it's very grippy for the horses, and it's really nice as an obstacle to do. It feels very sturdy going across, and yet you get that whole wobble effect. And you can see she does it really confidently, so we get a really great experience there. Now we're going to switch over to some long lining. I've got little Evelyn there as well. And this is totally different now because now the horse is having to have their own self-confidence to go first, and they're taking direction from behind them. So they need a lot more confidence. And I love long lining for that reason. The horse has to develop a lot more confidence, and it also really preps them for riding and lets you have an idea of how well they're going to do. It lets them take that direction from behind them. It lets them be more confident with what you're asking them to do. And so I took her around a whole bunch of the park without any or while being long lined, and so we went over bridges. She had to deal with my toddler running back and forth. So Dulcie has really stepped up in a big way, learning to do a bunch of different obstacles here, coming through the curtain, going all by her little self, and often after each obstacle stopping and getting a cookie. Sometimes we would just continue on to the next obstacle, what kind of depend on the situation and what she'd done. So here was a little bit trickier. She wasn't so sure that she wanted to do this without me, which is interesting because she'd already done this bridge, and it just took a couple of tries of keeping her straight, and then she was willing to try and go forward for me, which is great. And of course, whenever they struggle with something, then we tend to go around and do it again. And one of the nice things about using positive reinforcement, where we offer those cookies for the things that we want the horse to do, when they don't do what we want them to do, it's very easy. All you do is just don't give the cookie. And it's such a nice way to communicate, well, let's try that again and see if we can do it better. And it's not because, they were punished in any sort of way. It's just because they didn't get that positive reinforcement. So that time you can see she went super confidently up and over. I just had to make sure she went forward and gave me room to come out. So that was really, really nice. And this time we're going to combine a couple obstacles together where we did the little bridge, and before she's going to earn her cookie, I'm asking her to try another obstacle. This is the little splash box, which again she had gone through before, and she does it even with the little Vegas board in there, which punches up the little holes in there, does that really nicely. And moving on to the next obstacle. So because she's going to be going to the Mustang Challenge, where we're going to be doing a little trail class, it's important that she starts to get to a point where she's not expecting a cookie after each obstacle. And what I'm waiting for before she earns that cookie is a couple obstacles together. And I'd really like to see her just go without any hesitation as well. I'd like to see her just try. Here she's kind of nibbling at some little bits of grass at the side, and so I give her a little bit of a shake with the rope to say, like, nope, that's not what we're doing. But ultimately you can see what I'm trying to do here is just keep her head straight. I'm not, there's no whacking her with the ropes or anything like that. I'm not trying to intimidate her to go across. I'm just saying, can you look at it? And then when she decides she can look at it, then she's really thinking her way across there, and she ends up going across no problem. Interesting, because we had walked that in hand already, but it just goes to show you that when you switch to riding or directing your horse from behind, that it's a lot more scary for them. And we can't expect them to, just because we did everything on the ground, that they'll be just as brave without you there beside them. It's a totally different thing. So there she's trying to sneak some food again as she goes across, and she's like, oh, I'll just go off the little bridge here. So I'm going to say, like, nope, like, let's stay straight. So I'm using the long lines to help keep her straight. And this is so much valuable training that she's gaining in terms of preparing to ride, that we can steer from behind, that even though she got confused, I can still cause her to go where I want her to go. She's learning that when I direct her in a particular direction, that there's no reason to get upset or anything like that. I'm going to ask you to try and ask you to do it, but there's no reason to get worried or upset. So that was her offsite obstacle experience, and now it's getting ready for the next adventure. Soon will be the Mustang makeover.